All right, let's talk about a form of pollution we can't see, but one that affects all of us every single day: noise. Today, we're going to uncover the surprising legal battles being fought for our right to just a little peace and quiet. Let's dive in. I mean, it's a question we've all asked ourselves, right? Whether it's the construction that starts way too early outside your window or a neighbor's party that goes on way too late, it feels personal. But the answer has some pretty serious legal and health implications that go way beyond just being annoyed. Sound is really the energy of our lives. It's the music, its celebrations, the constant hum of a city. But when does all that energy cross a line and become a hazard? Well, that's a very fine line, and it's precisely where the law has to step in. Okay, so first things first, let's define what we're actually talking about here. What is noise pollution? It's not just any sound, it's the unwanted, often harmful noise that really disrupts our environment and our lives. It's all about balance, right? Your right to blast music ends where my right to a peaceful evening begins. The law isn't demanding total silence, it's just about respect and not causing harm. So when someone crosses that line and the noise gets to be too much, the law has a special name for it. It's no longer just an annoyance. It's called a public nuisance. That's a legal term for something that's actually hurting the health and comfort of everyone around. And the sources are, well, they're everywhere. Think about the constant drone of traffic and car horns, the blaring loudspeakers you hear at weddings and festivals, political rallies, the relentless grind of factories. It's become the unavoidable soundtrack to modern life, especially in a city. Yeah, if you want to control noise, you first have to be able to measure it. And that brings us to the science of sound, and the one unit of measurement that underpins every single legal limit on noise. It all comes down to this one thing: the decibel. You'll see it written as dB. It's the standard unit for how intense or how loud a sound is. The higher the decibel level, the louder the sound. But as we're about to see, these numbers aren't just figures on a chart. They have a massive impact on our well-being. So this kind of puts those numbers in perspective. A quiet conversation is floating around 30 decibels. Heavy truck traffic, that jumps all the way up to 100. And a jet taking off, a staggering 120 decibels. And it's really crucial to understand that this scale isn't linear. A small jump in decibels actually represents a huge leap in sound energy. If you remember one number today, make it this one: 120 decibels. This is the scientifically recognized point where sound crosses the line from just being loud to being physically harmful to the human ear. So what happens when we're constantly surrounded by these unsafe noise levels? The consequences are way more serious than just being irritated. We're talking about a real human cost here. Research in India really quantifies this problem. A major study found significant hearing loss across the population, but get this: people living in cities were almost 1.5 times more affected than people in rural areas. That's a pretty clear link between city noise and public health. And it goes way beyond just hearing loss. For kids, too much noise can actually hurt their ability to learn. For all of us, it messes with our sleep, which is absolutely critical for our health. And over time, it just leads to the slow, steady deterioration of the delicate little parts inside our ears. This brings us to the real core of our explainer today. How does the law fight back? India has actually built a very specific legal framework to control noise pollution, so let's take a look at how it works. First things first, the law is pretty smart about this. It knows that a factory district is different from a quiet neighborhood, so it divides areas into 4 different zones. Makes sense, right? What's acceptable noise in an industrial area is obviously not okay next to a hospital. And the one with the most protection is called a silence zone. This isn't just a friendly sign, it's a legally defined space. We're talking about the 100-meter bubble around places like hospitals, schools, and courts, places where quiet is absolutely essential. And here, my friends, is where the rubber meets the road. Check out these numbers. Let's look at a residential area. During the day, the limit is 55 decibels, but look what happens at night. It drops all the way down to 45. And to give you an idea of what that sounds like, 45 decibels is like a quiet library, seriously. And for a silent zone, it's even lower, just 40 decibels. This is so important. The law knows we need things to be much, much quieter when we're trying to sleep. This all leads to what is probably the most famous rule of the bunch. Between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., no loudspeakers or public address systems. Full stop. Now, there are a few tiny exceptions for some festivals, but they have to be pre-approved. For pretty much everyone else, it's a hard and fast rule. Okay, so we've got all these rules on paper, but do they actually work? I mean, what happens when it's a really big deal, a huge event? Do the courts stick to their guns? Well, there's a fantastic real-world case that tells us everything we need to know. Let's go back to the 90s. The world-famous musician Yanni was planning this huge concert right next to the Taj Mahal. But some activists pointed out, hey, wait a minute, that's a silent zone. The whole thing ended up going all the way to the Supreme Court of India. So picture this. On one side, you've got this massive international concert. On the other, you've got the law protecting a World Heritage Site. What do you think the Supreme Court did? Which one did they prioritize? The court's answer was crystal clear. The law is the law. They looked at the rulebook, saw that the nighttime limit for a silent zone was 40 decibels, and that was that. No exceptions, no negotiating. 40 decibels. That was the line. So what happened? The court ordered the entire show to be moved. They had to shift it 750 meters away from the Taj Mahal just to make sure they didn't break that 40 decibel limit. Now, if that doesn't prove these rules have some serious teeth, I don't know what does. So let's look at a famous case in India where the law was used to protect nothing less than a wonder of the world. The problem was dire. The iconic, brilliant white marble of the Taj Mahal was turning yellow. The cause? A toxic mix of decades of uncontrolled pollution, air, smoke, and noise from the whole surrounding area. This cultural treasure was literally being eaten away. So, investigations were launched, and they identified the culprits. It was a combination of heavy industries like foundries and chemical plants, a massive oil refinery nearby, and of course, the constant fumes and noise from heavy traffic. The Supreme Court's response was decisive and sweeping. It identified 292 specific polluters and ordered them to either switch to a cleaner fuel source or relocate entirely. They even mandated the creation of a vast green belt around the monument to act as a kind of natural buffer. This was a truly landmark moment. The legal foundation for this entire decision was the polluter pays principle. Essentially, the court affirmed that the responsibility and, importantly, the financial cost of fixing environmental damage falls squarely on those who created it in the first place. It's an incredibly powerful tool for accountability. All right, so we've covered the big idea, we've looked at the specific rules, and we've seen a real-life example of them in action. Now for the part you've been waiting for. What can you do when someone is breaking the law? So here's the magic number. The law says if the noise is 10 decibels or more above the legal limit for your area, that's your green light. That gives you the legal grounds to go ahead and file an official complaint. And the process itself is surprisingly simple. First, the noise breaks the limit. Second, you call the right person, like the local police or the district magistrate. Third, they have to check it out. It's their job. If they confirm it, they issue an official order to stop the noise. And if the person still doesn't comply, well, that's when they can start seizing equipment. It's a clear step-by-step process. So there you have it. The right to quiet isn't just some nice idea, is it? It's a real legal framework with real numbers and real power behind it. So the next time you hear that late-night party, you're going to hear it differently. You'll know it's not just annoying you. It's potentially breaking the law. So the real question is, now that you know the rules, what are you going to do?